Good morning. My name is Bonnie Burrows Peroni. It's my honor to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Studio City Zoom service. Here, values and deeds are the windows to your soul, not the color of your skin, whom you love, the gender pronouns you use, the particular, oh, mine are she and her, the particular forms of human sensory or neurodiversity you may embody, or what your cultural, ethnic, or religious background may be. We are a congregation of religious freethinkers and protectors of civil rights. UUs have been presidents, poets, scientists, and teachers. We, as UUs, are listeners and leaders working to promote acceptance, inclusion, understanding, and equity for persons of all ages. Thanks for being here. There's a special congregational meeting after church this morning. And we hope you attend. It'll be right after the service, voting on whether to spend money to hire professional consulting from the UUA's Healthy Congregations Office. So if you're not familiar with that, I believe the document that details the proposal is going to be pasted in the chat. So maybe you look at that right after the service, and you'll join us with your coffee. Good morning.
I am to like. Do I need an introduction? No. Okay. I like this chalice as the quest for truth is the sacrament. I'll hold up the chalice as soon as I have a free hand. Can you see this? Trying to get this in the. Okay, it is lit.
Thank you, Sue. I have a special call to worship today. My mom and my kids and I had lunch yesterday at my good friends Jill and Anthony's. They are both religious zealots, the best kind. They do incredible work in the world, creating affordable housing. Their nonprofit is called Making Housing and Community Happen. Anthony is a Quaker and Jill is a Christian. They have beautiful artwork throughout their house with framed calligraphies and cross-stitched inspirational religious sayings. This one stuck in my brain. It said, "God's gift to you is love. Your gift to God is what you do with that love." It is a sacred time, this, and a sacred virtual space that we share together. Let's begin our sacred time together in song with our first hymn, To Mercy, Pity, Peace, and Love.
To mercy, pity, peace.
And please join me in reading the words of our covenant in unison. Love is the spirit of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, thus do we covenant. And our doxology. For our reading this morning, I mentioned my friend Anthony Manusos. He has an article hot off the press in a magazine called The Western Friend, a Quaker magazine. This is from the May-June issue. I'm going to read just half of this. The article is called Thoughts from a Loving Gadfly. He writes, in January this year, I submitted an article to Western Friend about friends are Quakers, and the beloved community, and I received the best rejection letter ever. The editor told me she tends to publish good news about friends on the website, but wants the magazine to contain articles that dig deeper into the quandaries, conflicts, values, etc. that underlie all the good work. This seems like an editorial policy that will keep the magazine interesting and relevant. Even better, she offered intriguing queries for me to consider, which truly spoke to my condition. These are, what's your trick for keeping going when the odds are stacked against you? And what's your trick for returning to friends again and again with a loving spirit, even though you're swatted away like the blessed, cheerful, loving gadfly you are? For the last few months, I have reflected on these queries. First, I was pleased to be compared to a gadfly, since it evokes Socrates, one of my heroes. According to Plato, when Socrates was on trial for his life, he compared himself to a gadfly, a creature that stirs a sluggish horse to action, just as Socrates stirred up the Athenians by questioning their leaders. He said, if you kill a man like me, you will injure yourselves more than you will injure me. Because his role was that of a gadfly, to sting people and whip them into a fury, all in the service of truth. I have not suffered the fate of Socrates, at least not yet, but I have encountered considerable resistance from some friends. Some have been furious with me for speaking my truth. I have been called a knee-jerk liberal, sanctimonious, and epithets that would not be suitable for a Quaker publication. Once I was even physically thrown out of a Quaker gathering while being told, you don't belong. This was a devastating experience. Some people find me annoying when I speak my mind, and I understand that, especially since I am not always nice and diplomatic. I am often passionate about what I believe, and I speak out strongly. In this respect, I feel deep sympathy for the small but blessed company of Quaker heretics, and he mentioned several here. Although I haven't been treated nearly as badly as those friends were, I have had my share of being swatted away. At the same time, when I am true to myself and seek to follow God's guidance, I ultimately feel inner peace and joy, even as I am given a hard time for it. Jesus reminds us that it is a blessing to be insulted and reviled for the sake of justice. Matthew 5:11. He also makes it clear that a truth teller isn't appreciated in his hometown or in his own religious community. John 4:44. I have followed my leadings and been hurt for it often enough, while also feeling joy and inner peace. That these quotations carry a lot of meaning for me. And in the second half of his article, he delineates his tricks that he has found helpful in his efforts to be faithful to the spirit of love and truth. And I'm just going to list them here without going into his explanation. One, it's important to take time to listen to the Spirit stirring in our hearts and to be willing to consult with others who are wise. Two, when conflicts arise, seek God's wisdom rather than personal comfort and try to be part of the solution. And three, seek reconciliation based on integrity and mutual respect. And four, focus on love. So ends our reading. At the center of our service and at the center of our lives, we take time now to bear witness to what's in the center of our hearts, what we bring to church this morning. It's time for a weekly ritual of sharing our joys and sorrows. We always encourage you to light a candle at this time and or write your joy or sorrow in the chat. And today our reader is Nancy Holland.
I'm just trying to find my script. Here it is. When a sorrow is shared, it is lessened, and when a joy is shared, it is multiplied. In that spirit, Kate Tipton, I assume this is a joy, says Ellie, 13, and Izzy, 12, had their first vaccines Friday. Karen Renee, this is a sorrow. My brothers are facing serious health issues. Please send good thoughts for Ted and Steve. Stan Pitluck and I join him, say hi to Jay Atkinson. Welcome, Jay. From John, prayers for the Palestinians. Pam has a big joy. I believe it's health-related. Greg has a joy. On Thursday, I'll be getting my second dose of the Moderna vaccine. Go Team Dolly. Looking forward to slowly expanding my social circle again and for someday being able to sing with our lovely choir in person. I'm looking forward to that too, John. Yeah, Greg. Jess Womack says, being able to watch Nova and other science and technology programming on PBS is a joyful relief from the daily news. Joyce Fiddler shares a joy to see Reverend Jay here with us this morning. Nicole has a joy. Hello and welcome to Jay Atkinson. You're beloved, Joy and Jay. Antoinette, Raquel, and Jolly. Raquel has a joy that I got the chance to hug a friend that I haven't seen in a year. Antoinette says the No Home Home Alliance will soon be able to give direct referrals to temporary housing for our houseless neighbors. And Jolly sends prayers for our neighbors in Palestine and Israel. The brand of tear gas canisters used on them is the same that is used on us. Jean Hurd says, hi, Jay. And Rochelle Lamb has a sorrow. A dear UU minister friend of mine is on the receiving end of viscous and vindictive attacks from members of her prior congregation. I assume that's vicious, not viscous. There is no room for this sort of behavior in our UU movement. And Jay says, happy greetings to you all. We end by honoring all the joys and sorrows kept in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. May we all be warmed in the embrace of our community.
Thank you, Nancy. So y'all get to hear me blather on for most of the worship hour. So I thought it'd be nice to give the floor to my father and my daughter who are going to lead us in prayer this morning. This is called Religion by Vincent Silliman. Afterwards, we'll have a full minute of meditative silence, then sing our responsive hymn filled with loving kindness.
Let religion be to us life and joy.
Let it be a voice of renewing challenge to the best we have and may be. Let it be a call to generous action.
Let religion be to us a dissatisfaction with things that are, which bids us to serve more eagerly the true and right.
Let it be the sorrow that opens for us the way of sympathy, understanding, and service to suffering humanity.
Let religion be to us the wonder and lure that is, which is only partly known and understood.
An eye that glories in nature, in nature's majesty and beauty, and a heart that rejoices in deeds of kindness and of courage.
Let religion be to us security, serenity, because of its truth and beauty, and because of the enduring worth and power of the loyalties which it endangers.
Let it be us hope and purpose and a discovering of opportunities to express our best through daily tasks.
Religion uniting us with all that is admirable in human beings everywhere.
Holding before our eyes a prospect of the better life for humankind, which each may help to make actual.
we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
And I believe now it's time for our last testimonial for our pledge drive season. And very happy to have Rich Suter, our Chair of Finance, bring up the rear. Take it away, Rich.
Yes, this is the last testimonial before the important fund drive. My wife, Christina Mathers, and I, and our dog, started spending part of every winter in Los Angeles in about 2012. We were escaping New England winters and pursuing our children who, one by one, had moved out west. And the longer our winter visit became, the more we thought about finding a UU church to attend. We'd been members of the First Parish in Brookline, Massachusetts since 1979, and it's been an important part of our life. So we sampled services at the UU Church downtown and then UU CSC, and were drawn to the smaller neighborhood church. And in part, I would have to say the music has been great. So thank you for that, everybody. So a year ago, we took the plunge and joined the church. And not too long after that, I became chair of the finance committee when the pandemic forced the church to be completely rethink its whole spending paradigm. Between the two of us, Christina and I have participated in the Men's Fellowship, the Senior Fellowship, the Book Club, sandwich making for the homeless, and as the church's representative on the advisory board for the North Hollywood Interfaith Food Pantry. We're very enthusiastic about the church's new collaboration with NoHo Home Alliance and the Tuesday morning drop-in program. The pandemic has forced us to rethink our living arrangements for 3 months in LA, and we sold our home back there and became California residents in December. And now the church matters more than ever to us. It's where we can find like-minded people as well as ways to contribute to our new community. We're supportive of all the efforts to make the congregation truly welcoming to the wider world, and are looking for ways to educate ourselves in our, I guess, white privilege and regressive thinking past. UU CSC has a lot of work to do in order to uphold all the UU principles, and we hope that connecting to the UUA's healthy congregation staff will help us on that journey. As Finance Committee Chair, I'm deeply aware of how much UU CSA needs us to be as generous as we possibly can at this time, which for many of us is difficult. This includes in-kind services as well as the all-important dollars. So keep that in mind. So Christina and I are happy to support the church's initiatives, and I know that every one of you will too, and many of you, of course, have continued throughout the pandemic. So thank you for listening, and I'll send it back to Reverend Hannah.
Thank you so much, Rich. Yes, please turn in your pledge if you haven't already. We will start reaching out to folks who have not in earnest this week. And it's also time now for our weekly ritual of sharing our financial gifts. Thank you so much for your ongoing generosity. The offering will now be gratefully received.
my mind. So much love in the air, so much love, it's always there. How much love I can't say, just know I need to get out of its way. I'll fight to stay open, I'll fight to stay wild, I'll see better nature, I'll find it like a child. How much love do you need? If you look hard, it's all you see. How much love do you want? It won't let you down, it's never gone. So much love, I can feel so much love. It must be real. How much love trapped inside? So much love, show it some light.
That was a song called So Much Love by Nada Surf. It's from my favorite album of 2020 called Never Not Together. I want to share with you, beginning of my sermon here, what my friend Anthony Menuso said about his fourth trick that he finds helpful in his efforts to be faithful to the spirit of love and truth, the focus on love. What I have learned after 30 years of trying to be a friend is that all our Quaker practices and testimonies are meaningless if they're not based upon loving kindness. Quakerism is not just a mystical religion, it is also a prophetic religion. True prophets are always motivated by love, love for justice, love for those who are suffering and oppressed, and love for their faith community. Ending of that quote. I love that because there isn't a whiff of self-righteousness in that statement. It's all about serving the common good. So today for my sermon, I have promised to take on a controversial piece of writing that was disseminated at our General Assembly of Unitarian Universalists from all over the country in Spokane, Washington in June of 2019 by my colleague Ted Eckloff, called The Gadfly Papers. It came to my attention that it was being passed around a bit in our community. Folks have been reading it. And since 500 of my colleagues signed a letter of censure opposed to its contents, as your spiritual leader, it seems only responsible to offer my words of wisdom on the matter. The Gadfly Papers, which is apparently available in book form, originated as a collection of 3 essays that basically critique the UUA around their handling of the removal of former UUA president Peter Morales, as well as critique the in recent decades focus on identity politics and political correctness. So at the risk of boring those of you who are not familiar with this great controversy in our religion, I present the following. First, I want to share what Melissa James, the staff person at the UUA that I have been working with off and on for the past year or so, I'd like to share what she had to say about our engagement with the Gadfly Papers. I have been working with Melissa in order to find solutions for our ongoing church conflict pertaining to our identity and ideals as Unitarian Universalists. I had told her in an email early last week that it's clear to me that our whole religion is having an existential identity crisis. And I see this playing out in our congregations, where often the minister becomes the rope in a tug of war, or even a target. And, you know, I've been doing full-time parish ministry for 16 years now, and I have seen colleague after colleague, all my favorite colleagues, abandon it in favor of non-parish ministry work, such as chaplaincy or grassroots organizing for progressive public policies. My colleague in the UU Church in San Diego, who was in my seminary class, she just stepped down, for example, and she's taking a year sabbatical to decide if she still has it in her. And I might add, she's as talented and as hardworking as they come. Well, I can't quit because I won't quit. I won't quit because I deliver pretty good sermons most Sundays, and parish ministry is the only way I can continue to preach. So unless I get run out, I am not going anywhere. I am committed to UU Parish Ministry, and I'm especially committed to this church, the UU Church of Studio City, that I love. I love everyone here, everyone. I love parish ministry well beyond preaching too, of course. I love serving well, being there for people, and having the courage to be the most wise leader I can be, even in these treacherous terrains we've been traversing since a year and a half ago when our current phase of conflict got underway. Anyway, here's what Melissa James wrote in an email to me just this past Thursday, and I quote, "I totally hear what you are saying about the identity crisis within Unitarian Universalism. While it isn't my place as UUA staff to take a side regarding the Gadfly papers and movements around them, what I will say is that what we are seeing in congregations that do choose to engage them is an increase in distrust in ministers, ministry, and the UUA." She went on to say as well, "I would certainly want to be asking questions of whether or not these materials will actually foster the conversation you want, need, and do so in a way that fosters health in the congregation in the short term and long term, or if there is another way to have that conversation and work toward health and healing." So I share her warning myself as well. And I'll be honest, I was not happy to hear that we're engaging the Gadfly papers at this current juncture in the life of our church. There's a reason I never read those papers and never signed either of the two fellow clergy letters in response to it, not the one against it and not the one for it. I never engaged this debate because I knew it was not helpful, that it's a weapon of war in the current morass of polarization that UU finds itself in this identity crisis. Who are we? Who have we been? Who are we saying we are now, and who decides that? It seems to me that these are the questions we should be focusing on and not getting caught up in what I'm going to be mentioning a lot this morning, what I call these pompous or self-righteous toned debates. I agree with Melissa that this particular conversation is not what our congregation needs right now when we need understanding, forgiveness, and healing. This is why I endorse allowing the UUA consultants to come help us to the tune of $7,000, which we'll be voting on soon after worship today. And you know, I'm aware that our church has mixed feelings, especially our long-standing members, that we've had mixed results when UUA staff have interceded in the past. And so I can understand if our folks who can remember those times are skeptical. Trust me, I haven't always had good experiences with UUA bureaucracy myself. However, I am impressed with the caliber of UUA staff that I have encountered in the last 5 years. These are some of the smartest, most respected colleagues of mine. They're thoughtful people and they have our backs. They are not on the side of ministers they are not on the side of congregations. They are on the side of healthy congregations, hence their office name, the Office of Healthy Congregations. I would even go so far as to say that they are on the side of love. And I have faith that they will teach us something about ourselves and we will grow stronger for it. That all said, when I began to hear complaints that the Men's Fellowship was inviting some dialogue around the Gadfly Papers and even hosting the author in a few weeks, I was nevertheless not inclined to shut down discourse. Todd Eckloff is a UU minister in good standing, and as my colleague, is welcome to come speak at my church in an auxiliary setting chosen by church members. Part of my reasoning is I would never dream of telling the women's book club which books to read, nor should I censor guest speakers of the Men's Fellowship, whom I trust to draw their own conclusions of the merits of one's ideas. This minister, Todd Eckloff, is one of us. He's one of me. Most of my colleagues don't agree with him and have censored him. And I'll be honest, I'm not impressed by this cancel culture mentality. When you tell Unitarians not to talk about something, what do you think they're going to do? I think it's caused many UUs to ask, what has happened to our tradition of debate? When we ask things like, what is a fair critique and what is not? Why are we forfeiting one of our most staid values, examining the worthiness of ideas? So here's what I have to say. I haven't read the whole thing yet, and to be honest, like others have admitted, I probably won't bother. But I have the gist of it. My mother, who read all 3 essays entirely in this past week, has said about the Gadfly Papers that they are dense, or turgid was her word, and that the tone is pompous. Turgid and pompous. And this is what it made me think. It made me think that, unfortunately, this is how polarized sides tend to talk to each other. They both come off as pompous, even while both sides are right about many things. As a major take-home point, I want to say, I do not condone polarization or zero-sum thinking. I have avoided this gadfly treatise and controversy for precisely that reason. I am for us coming together in the middle, the no man's land where we are not fenced in, finding compromise, doing good listening, feeling safe enough to learn from each other with truly open minds and open hearts, feeling safe enough to make mistakes and know that at the end of the day, we can forgive each other. So rather than just acknowledge that there are these very clear 2 sides in this debate, I offer a third. But first, from what I can tell, the 2 sides are these. The first are traditional value of freedom of discourse, and the other, what has been described as call-out culture and a climate of fear that you'll be name-called or labeled racist, white supremacist, or any number of shameful designations, but at the same time has its heart in the right place of standing on the side of the marginalized. But my friends, the biggest point I wish to make on this topic is that there is a third option, and that is the common good. Each of us asking ourselves, whatever side we identify with, what is in the best interest of all of us who call ourselves Unitarian Universalists? And this has to do with tactics. It is a given in my mind that we as UUs all want to see injustice rooted out of our society especially systemic racism and homophobia of all kinds, economic injustice too. It is not a sound argument that our mostly white, middle and upper middle class denomination is inherently racist or homophobic or that we are inherently racist or homophobic in comparable terms to society at large. What I'm trying to say is that the name calling and labeling is not warranted. And here's why. So in my last year of classwork at seminary, way back in 2002 or 3, I took an amazing class with a guest professor named Mtangalizi Sanyika. The course was called The African American Religious Experience. What he taught me, our whole class one day, was a huge revelation to me as a cradle UU. One day in class, he was asked what his take was on why we're so damn white and not racially diverse. And he said something to this effect, that those of us who like to flog ourselves and deeply criticize our whiteness and lack of diversity fail to take this into consideration. The reason we're not as racially or socioeconomically diverse as we could be is because we don't really have anything to offer to those who are deeply marginalized. They have their own traditions, and those religious traditions are stronger in their dogma and their theology. They find salvation in these more evangelical traditions that our brand of salvation does not offer at all. And it is my feeling that it's the height of arrogance to assume Unitarian Universalism truly offers something that so-called marginalized people actually want. They look at us squabbling and making sour faces at each other and are simply not interested in our identity wars of what UU is or is not. They ask, where's Jesus? Where's Moses? Where's God? Where's service? Where is relief for what I'm suffering with in my heart? Where's solace? Where's mercy? Where is the altar call of religion that is strong, good medicine? Where is salvation in this pompous polarization that we are so entrenched in? Also, something Davidson Lohr, who I understand is quoted in this treatise, something he taught me because I am indeed his protege. The man taught me how to preach and so much more, is that the identity politics fixation in modern UU is what he called a false salvation story. He explained it to me this way, always making sure he stated how arrogant and oppressive he thought it was to label marginalized groups as victims, that this is its own form of self-righteous racism and oppression. But it's worse than that. Not only do we think we can decree who is most marginalized and victimized, we also implicate them in our own false salvation story. If I constantly speak up for the little guy, and I save myself by demonstrating what a good self-righteous person I am, I get to wear that badge of honor, but it's just a badge. I could wear a Black Lives Matter button every day and call out racism until I am blue in the face. That doesn't make me a good, by virtue of being vociferously righteous, saved human being. That is false salvation. Because carrying on and finger pointing and labeling and name calling people racist doesn't uproot racism. Again, it's about tactics. As many of you know, I believe in the principles of community organizing, about how we actually change minds and hearts by working together on common goals, which is slow, hard work. I don't need to keep talking about how unracist I am in order to work toward public policy changes like civilian oversight of police, like police reform. I don't need to talk about how unclassist I am. I simply take action to support workers' rights. So I'm against the tactics that amount to pompous people speaking pompously to each other and at each other, and not taking time to do the relational work of listening, finding commonality, and shaking hands on compromise. Of finding common goals to work on together, even if one side is less or more woke than the other. I'm interested in people who do the work, have the long and difficult conversations, not dissimilar to what it takes to convince an anti-vaxxer to get vaccinated. You don't convince them by calling them stupid or ignorant. You don't shame them for having the life experiences and fears that they have. You listen to their concerns. You answer all the questions. It can take hours. You treat them with dignity and respect. You don't talk down at them. There's no finger wagging. There's not talk of failure. There is only talk of relationship and how we could best hear one another and learn from one another. There's only talk of, I am in covenant with you, I am in relationship with you, and we will keep listening and learning as the medium, as a standard of conduct within relationship, regardless of the topic at hand. I love that my UU tradition asks the hard questions. One question I've been asking a lot in my mind is, should perfection be the enemy of progress? Shouldn't we, as Chris Long said last Sunday, acknowledge that we are an organization in progress, made of individuals who are each works in progress? Shouldn't we, rather than all this pompous tone talk on both sides, have compassion for one another? Acknowledge it's hard to articulate all these things that we care so much about. There's no zero-sum result with this ethos of compassion. There's no winning or losing. There's only becoming and deepening relationship, strengthening the bonds of our sacred covenant in relationship to one another as UUs. Love is the spirit of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To serve humanity in fellowship, in fellowship, to dwell together in peace. Peace. This is our version of worldly salvation that is at its best, that is real. I believe in our covenantal relationship to one another as UUs, but especially these values that we hold sacred within this particular UU congregation. When people ask me what my vision for this church is, it's the easiest question to answer. I am a facilitator of the vision this church chooses for itself. We have some revisioning to do as a church, and my role as spiritual leader is to facilitate a renewal of our mission. Who shall we be? Who are we? Who have we been? What can we be? There are so many things we can be, and it's beautiful and right that many of us want different things. There's time for all of it. 52 days a year in worship, we run the gamut. We talk about what's going on in the world, our horror at the injustice and cruelty seemingly endemic to life and human nature. We also spend that hour nurturing one another, inspire ourselves, and challenge ourselves to be the best people we can be as we wrestle with all the uncertainties and things we're learning about life, as we enact the great dance of each of us as a work in progress. We can lament, we can celebrate, we can mourn. We can be honest with ourselves, even when it hurts and it's terrifying. There's enough to go around. We can cover it all. There is enough time to talk about everything we care about. What I want to see us stop doing is hurting one another in our pompousness and in our callousness. I want to see us all admit that we don't know as much as we think we do, that we often don't know what we don't know, that this is the human condition. And church should be a place where we take solace as we suss this all out. It should be where we find this authentic salvation. It's good that we care. It's good that we ask the hard questions. It's good that we feel. It's good that we thirst mightily for justice. It's good that we maintain the highest standards of how we treat one another, actively showing respect and a spirit of non-judgment in every exchange. And so, my friends, that is the third option, to be in service of the common good, moving away from the polarized configuration of pompous versus pompous, upholding at every turn what is in the best interest of the common good. It's the only antidote that I know of for the illness of polarization. It's the only treatment. And so I am here to serve you as we all strive to do what's in the best interest of our common good as a church, as a denomination, even as a country. So mote it be, and let's sing our last hymn.
I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul.
And a benediction concludes our service. Please stick around for the special congregational meeting afterward. For those who seek God, may your God go with you. Thank you, Sue. For those who embrace life, may life return your affection. And for those who seek a better path, may you find that path and the courage to take it step by step by step. Amen.